What is it about him that made you fall in love?
The way that Papoose speaks, he's a very nice guy. Very, very nice, very, very humble, very knowledgeable. We all know he can rap, okay? And yeah, he can rap, like seriously, really good. And he just very—
Christmas has a way of telling the truth when people don't want to. It strips the captions, the speeches, the Instagram defenses, and leaves you with one simple question. Where did you actually choose to be? And that's why this Papoose, Claressa Shields, and Remy Ma situation has the internet side-eyeing everything. Because the math, it's not mathing. For over a year now, Claressa has been standing 10 toes down behind Papoose, defending him, praising him, letting the world know how loved, protected, and prioritized she feels. Every time the relationship gets questioned, she's right there, firm, confident, ready to fight the narrative.
I'm gonna have a baby next year. We already have it planned out. I'm gonna have a baby next year. And then after I go through my stuff, then I'll come back and fight some more, and then probably have another one, and then do the same thing again.
In her mind, this is her man, period. But Christmas came, and something didn't line up. According to chatter that exploded online, Claressa reportedly spent Christmas alone, while Papoose was with Remy Ma and their daughter playing family. And once that detail hit the timeline, the energy shifted instantly. Because no matter how complicated relationships get, holidays don't lie.
Yeah. So Claressa out here planning to have a baby with Papa the next year. Guess her and Pap definitely talked about it. I get her with the age she at. She's about ready to have a family and settle down, other than stated being in the field with the boxing thing. So I get where she's coming from. But is Pap even divorced? Are you making plans with a man that ain't divorced? All I can say is Pap better come through with them promises. Better not be no broken promises. Because did you see her fist? That good fist bigger than both of Pap fists put together. All I can say is, Pap, just run. Get on out of Dodge, Pap. That's all I can say. If you get any one of them promises is broken, all I can tell you to do is get on out of Dodge. Get on out of Dodge, my boy. That's all I can tell you. But, hey, maybe he ready to have some babies. I don't know. Maybe he ready to have some babies. I'm hoping he is. Because, Pap, nobody can help you. We won't be able to help you. That's all I can say. But anyway, y'all tuning in to the fight?
The claim didn't just float quietly either. It was blasted straight to the front by Tasha K, who dropped it in the most casual but devastating way possible. She basically said Claressa was by herself on Christmas while Papoose was with his wife and kids, and then let the internet do what it does best. And the internet went to work. Because suddenly, people weren't talking about boxing wins or love quotes anymore. They were asking the real questions. How does the woman who's been riding so hard for this man end up alone on one of the biggest holidays of the year? How does that happen if she's really the priority? If the situation is really moved on? If everything is as healed and clear-cut as it's been presented?
So the beef with Claressa, Clarence, whatever Remy Ma called her, let me tell y'all something. I would chew rocks and swallow them before I would ever speak publicly about a man that is still married that has yet to sign divorce papers that's been filed for months. I would eat literal cow manure before I would go on somebody's app saying I'm about to have a family with this married man that got kids my freaking age. This girl is delusional. And quite frankly, it's really embarrassing because it's like Remy Ma read her. Like, she's like, I've known this man since you were 10 years old. Since you were 10 years old, she's known this man. She's been married to that man since she was 13. Like, honey, get out the chat. Get in the ring. Get out the fit. Because dating ain't working for her. Because I feel like nobody was talking to Claressa, whatever her name is. No man that we know of was interested in that woman. And now she got somebody interested in her, and it just happens to be Papoose. And, you know, this whole thing that Papoose is this, Papoose is that, whatever. I don't care about Papoose. All I know is that he quote unquote held Remy Ma down while she was in prison, even though he was probably cheating. Because most men cheat. 9 times out of 10, they not gonna hold you down, but whatever. Like, that's the narrative they like to put out there. But all I gotta say is, Claressa, baby, get in the ring and get out the dating field, because you get your tail whooped out there in them comments. Baby, that's embarrassing.
Now, let's be fair for a second. Yes, Papoose and Remy Ma share a child. Co-parenting matters. Showing up for your kid matters. Nobody is saying a father shouldn't be present. But Christmas isn't just another random day. It's symbolic. It's emotional. It's one of those moments that quietly reveals where someone's heart really lives. And this is where the discomfort creeps in. Because if Claressa is truly the woman of his future, why is she the one spending Christmas alone? Why isn't she part of the holiday picture, even in some form? Why does it look like she got left behind while he stepped back into familiar territory? That's the part nobody can ignore. And it's not like this situation doesn't have history. Papoose and Remy Ma aren't some recent chapter. That's a marriage with years of memories, public battles, loyalty through prison time, a shared child, and a bond that doesn't just disappear because feelings get complicated. You don't erase that with a new relationship, no matter how intense it feels. At the same time, Claressa didn't create this dynamic alone. Papoose played a role. He's the one who allowed her to believe she was the priority. The one who showed up, spent time, spoke certain words, and made her feel chosen. You don't get someone that emotionally invested by accident. And when actions suddenly contradict the narrative, it leaves the other person exposed. That's why people keep repeating the same saying over and over. If you want to know where a man's heart is, look at where he is on the holidays. And on Christmas, he wasn't with Claressa. That doesn't automatically mean he doesn't care about her, but it does mean something. It means the situation isn't as simple as it's been presented. It means there are layers, loyalties, and emotional ties that haven't been cut, no matter how much anyone wants to believe otherwise. And if Claressa is seeing this situation through hope instead of reality, Christmas may have just delivered a wake-up call she wasn't ready for. Because love can be loud online, but choices are quiet. And they speak the loudest. And once people noticed where he spent Christmas, the conversation changed completely. Because now, the question isn't what did he say? It's what did he do? And that's where this story really starts getting uncomfortable. Once people sit with that reality, the tone around this whole situation gets heavier. Because it stops being about gossip and starts feeling like a pattern a lot of women recognize way too well. The kind where words stay sweet, promises stay loud, but when it's time to show up, things suddenly get complicated. And Claressa's position in all this is what's making people uncomfortable. She's not some quiet woman in the background. She's a world champion. A public figure who's used to standing in her power, speaking boldly, and defending what's hers. That's why so many people noticed how hard she's gone for Papoose over the past year. Anytime the relationship was questioned, she shut it down fast. Anytime his loyalty was doubted, she corrected it even faster. In her mind, this was solid, but Christmas didn't reflect that confidence. And that disconnect is what people can't shake. Because when someone publicly claims a relationship with that much certainty, but privately ends up alone on a major holiday, it raises uncomfortable questions. Not just about him, but about what she's been told versus what's actually happening. This is where the he's still married part really hits. No matter how separated things may be emotionally, legally, and historically, Papoose is still tied to Remy Ma. That's a fact. They share a daughter. They share years of history. They share a bond built through loyalty that survived some of the hardest circumstances imaginable. Prison time, public scrutiny, career ups and downs. That kind of connection doesn't evaporate cleanly. So when Christmas rolls around and he chooses to be with Remy and their child, it doesn't automatically mean romance is back on the table. But it does mean his priorities are more complicated than the story being sold online. And Claressa is left dealing with the emotional fallout of that. Because here's the part people aren't saying out loud enough. You don't accidentally make someone feel like they're your future. That takes intention. That takes reassurance. That takes repeated actions that tell someone, you're the one I'm choosing. If Claressa felt secure enough to defend him publicly, that security came from somewhere. Which means Papoose likely helped create it. That's why some people are frustrated with him too. Because if you know your situation isn't fully untangled, if you know holidays are still going to pull you back into your old family structure, then you owe the new person honesty, not just affection. You owe them clarity, not comfort that disappears when it matters most. And that's the part where actions start outweighing words. A lot of people keep coming back to the same idea. Holidays don't lie. Christmas, Thanksgiving, birthdays. Those are the moments when people instinctively go where they feel grounded, where they feel responsibility, where they feel home. And on Christmas, Papoose went back to his family unit. That doesn't erase whatever he feels for Claressa, but it does send a message, whether intentional or not. A message that says the situation isn't resolved, that says the door to his past isn't closed, that says she might be more of a chapter than a destination, at least right now. And for Claressa, that's a hard pill. Because when you're in love, you tend to see potential instead of patterns. You focus on how things could be, not how they actually are. And from the outside, it looks like she may be holding on to an ideal version of this relationship while ignoring the reality playing out in real time. At the same time, it's impossible not to feel sympathy for her. Nobody wants to be the person defending a relationship just to be left alone when it counts. Nobody wants to find out their place through social media whispers and holiday photos. And nobody wants to realize that no matter how strong their feelings are, they're still competing with history. What makes this situation sting is that it didn't need to happen like this. Clear boundaries, honest expectations. A real conversation about holidays and family obligations could have prevented the embarrassment of optics alone. Instead, Claressa ends up being the one people are talking about, questioning her judgment, her awareness, her position. And that's unfair, because she didn't choose this dynamic by herself. Papoose helped build it. Now the internet is watching closely, because this feels like a turning point. Either Claressa finally sees the situation for what it is, or she continues fighting for something that might never fully choose her. And once a woman starts asking herself that question, everything changes. Because love can survive a lot, but it struggles to survive clarity. By the time this conversation reaches its breaking point, it's no longer about rumors or online chatter. It's about emotional reality. Because once the holiday passes, once the photos circulate, once the silence settles in, you can't unsee what you've seen. And Claressa knows it. People close to her say the confidence hasn't disappeared, but the tone has shifted. When you're truly secure, you don't need to over-explain your relationship to strangers. You don't need to defend it every time someone questions it. And you definitely don't need to convince the internet that you're chosen when the actions don't line up. That's what makes this moment feel like a crossroads. For Claressa Shields, love hasn't been something she tiptoes around. She's intense, passionate, loyal. When she commits fully. And that kind of heart doesn't do well in gray areas. It needs clarity, direction, assurance that when it matters most, she won't be left standing alone. Christmas tested that. Meanwhile, Papoose continues moving carefully, almost too carefully. He hasn't publicly addressed the situation. No explanations, no corrections, no effort to reshape the narrative. And silence in moments like this isn't neutral. It speaks. It suggests he's aware of how complicated things really are. Because no matter how strong his connection with Claressa may be, his bond with Remy Ma isn't something he can just erase. That's not just a former love. That's a wife, a co-parent, a partner who stood by him through some of the darkest chapters of his life. Loyalty like that creates a permanent emotional imprint. And when the holidays arrive, those imprints tend to resurface. This doesn't automatically mean he wants to be back with Remy romantically, but it does mean she and their daughter still occupy a space in his life that Claressa can't compete with and shouldn't have to. The problem is, when those realities aren't acknowledged openly, someone gets hurt. In this case, it looks like Claressa, because being the other woman in a situation that isn't fully resolved is exhausting. You're constantly waiting for the next test, the next holiday, the next moment that reveals where you actually stand. And eventually, no amount of reassurance can quiet that voice in your head asking, what happens when it really counts? That's why people keep circling back to the same uncomfortable truth. If a man truly sees you as his future, he doesn't leave you alone on Christmas. He finds a way. He makes space. He communicates. He doesn't let you find out your place through gossip and speculation. And if he can't do that yet, then he's not ready, no matter how good it feels in between. What makes this situation especially painful is that Claressa didn't come into it naive. She came in confident, assured, believing she was stepping into something real. So if Christmas revealed otherwise, that realization cuts deeper than any rumor ever could. Now the question isn't whether the internet is right or wrong. It's whether Claressa is willing to accept what the moment showed her, or whether she'll keep fighting for a version of the relationship that only exists in words, not actions. Because love isn't proven in private promises. It's proven in public choices, and Christmas made one of those choices impossible to ignore. So if you're rocking with this breakdown, hit that like button, drop your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe. Because this situation isn't just about one holiday, and this story is far from over.